You can start. The majority of you are here. You just need 3. Did you want me to put those in the box? I'm ready.
The other one ran out of.
Some of these.
Can you text Jim to see how close he is?
Sure. Is he the other one on this
And
committee?
Councilwoman
Well,
Bowman.
Well, he asked to put
Councilwoman
on.
Bowman and telephone. I mean,
Oh.
Jackson
Bowman
and
and
telephone.
He asked
I mean,
to add on road
you know what
repair,
I mean.
so I'm
I
sure
mean,
he would
Bowman
want to
and
be here.
Okay.
I keep saying telephone, but I'm trying to say Jackson. Okay, Jim.
Oh, okay, don't worry about it.
Okay.
He heard you.
I was just in the process of texting.
Oh, he's not on.
He's not on it. It's Jackson and Bowman.
It's Jackson.
But you have,
But
you have enough.
Okay.
It's 5 members, so you only need 3. So,
And then I called out to you and you just like, didn't hear me. You're wrong. You're wrong.
If I'd known Jim was wearing jeans today, I don't know.
Hey.
You have it?
all you got
Hey,
Have you still got it?
I'll sign you.
Well, if there's, I mean, is it back there right now?
Uh-huh.
we'll get you out of here before the storm.
You know what? I saw some smoke coach trucks coming in. Smoke coach trucks, like energy.
They headed
Down
down
south.
south. They telling everybody down south to come north. Don't go east, don't go west, they coming here.
I'm gonna give me some water when I get you some.
He on standby for that.
Yeah, tell Alan, don't play no games.
Alexandria is the first stop.
That's mine.
And I think that's gonna be
See,
what you
my
call it.
mom called earlier.
Bastrop is like right there in your eye.
Oh, is it really?
Next, I think we're on standby for 500 back.
Oh, wow.
Y'all ready? Tony, you ready? We would like to call the meeting of the Infrastructure, Planning and Infrastructure GIS Committee meeting to order at this particular time. I'll have opening comments. The items on the agenda today will be update on drinking water, update on lighting in neighborhoods, update on Independence Stadium as to where we are, and discuss road repair. And then we will be adjourned. At this particular time, we are open for public comments. If there's anybody in the public that would like to speak on any of these items. Seeing that there's none, the first item is the annexation, and we're going to ask that Councilman Butcher would talk on that for a minute.
We need to approve the minutes first, Mr. Chairman.
Well, that's after the, oh yeah, with public comment, I'm sorry. At this particular time, give me a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Taylor, second by Councilman Butcher to approve the minutes. Are there any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now that the minutes have been approved, the first item on the agenda is annexation. I'm sorry.
So this is more so about outside the water rates, I think, than annexation, but it pertains to annexation. The majority of these are happening in either Councilwoman Bowman, Councilwoman Taylor, my district, or in Councilman Jackson's district. There are several areas that are growing outside the city that are tying on to our water, and it's not neighborhoods, because typically the neighborhoods, we're annexing them and taking the street dedication and everything. These are individuals that are concurrent, and it's been going on as best as we can tell since about 1980 something. I appreciate GIS for getting us the map, and engineering for getting us the map of everybody that's in there. I mean, just food for fact, Barksdale Air Force Base and Kerr Elementary on Airline Drive are on Shreveport City Water, by the way, which I thought was very interesting. But anyway, yeah. But if you look at the map, where the dots are kind of, and the clusters are really more towards West Shreveport, North Shreveport, and down in southeast Shreveport. Recently, we've been getting some requests to tie on to city water for residents that are outside the city. And a couple of council members have come to me and are probably not going to be able to support that due to the issue of it being outside the city and us still having to maintain, the water. And those people do pay double the rate, if I'm not mistaken. But they aren't paying sewer in most cases, and they're not paying the garbage fee and all that. They're just paying for the water usage. Is that right?
That's correct. Some, we do have some.
Come up to the mic, bro.
And whoever does, it's on the screen right now, whoever controls that can put that map on the screen.
Dwayne.
Hey, how are y'all?
Hey,
As Councilman Boucher was saying, we do have some situations where it will be a water and sewer combined thing, but it is very few. Mostly they do tap into the water line, like the gentleman that was on the agenda for Past View was just going to be water, and a 16-inch ran, and right close to his drive there.
right in front of his
Right in
property.
front of his house, absolutely.
I-
But that you're correct on that, and they don't pay into that other things, and honestly, sewers, the higher cost there.
So they're not paying for the general revenue bonds on the sewer system either, correct?
I wouldn't. I don't know. I can't answer that.
I believe that the water revenue bonds and sewer revenue bonds are secured by both water and sewer revenues. So they would be contributing to the debt service.
Okay. Well, so basically one of the issues that I have, and there's several different legal issues, and I don't know if legal's here. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, that's how you come in. One of the issues that I have is we have several of these that are on city roadways but are outside the city, and Malcolm probably knows a lot more about this than I do, but there are several along Norris Ferry Road, several along Ellerby Road, several along East Kings Highway that front the city street, but we're having, they're outside the city, but they've got city water. They also have, we have to clean their ditches out, which we get calls all the time from people outside the city that we're having to clean their ditch out. So a lot of council members don't want to allow people to add on to city water. So we need to come up with some type of game plan going forward. What do we do with these people that have been tied on? And Tanya, thank you and your staff for getting this together. It's an impressive list that she's gone back and taken everything that's been tied on to city water since the 80s and has attached the annexation agreements. If I'm not mistaken, our ordinance says that to be able to get city water, you have to sign an annexation agreement. Is that right?
That's correct. And I double checked that with I didn't bring my folder with me, but the last gentleman signed that as well, that they won't contest. Or I think if I understand it correctly, if they do contest, we can disconnect them. There's some language in there, but they will not contest if we do decide to annex.
So that's kind of where we're at. We're providing, in some cases, I'm not talking about getting neighborhoods, because they're neighborhoods that all have city water, but they're not continuous to the city and they're not on a city roadway. But I think if you're on a city roadway, and in a lot of cases in my area, some of them are getting fire protection as well with the mutual aid agreement. So they're getting city fire protection, they're getting city water, and they're getting city road and drainage. So we need to kind of start looking at where we're going to go from here. There are several legalities, though, that just from my history as being fire chief that we looked into. One of them is one of the lines that runs down Ellerby Road to Leonard Road was put in by the port. And it's a rural development block grant loan. I don't think anybody that tied onto that, we can annex them. Is it 40 years? Is that right? So we're about 15 into it. So we've got a ways to go on that. The other one is a question that was raised to me by somebody outside the city was, if the house is transferred since 1980 something and an annexation agreement was signed by the owner at that time, does that annexation agreement still hold for the new property owner? So that's a question that needs to be answered. The other one is, when I was fire chief, we had some legislation that was passed mainly for the Lowe's and Target corridor, because they were outside the city for quite a while. and where Chevy Land is, and then the city came and annexed them. So there was legislation, Jerry Jones did legislation that said that the city has to pay the fire district or water district or whoever it is, pay their tax for 1 year, 100%, and then it dwindles down over a 5-year period. The reason for that was where we don't go in and annex a whole neighborhood, and the fire district has done long-range planning, and now they're not able to meet their obligations because of it. So there's some money that's involved in that. The other one is a question, can you, will these people, if we annex them now, will they be responsible for paying the bond because they didn't vote on the bond? I don't know if that indebtedness goes with the annexation or if it doesn't. So there's several different legal aspects that we're going to need to look at. The third one, and I asked Gary this morning, do we have to provide them sewer? Because in a lot of cases, like Norris Ferry Road, it's a forced main. Isn't that right, Brandon? Isn't that a forced main going down Norris Ferry? Yes, sir. So it's going to be hard for individuals to tap in to a forced main. Do we have to give them the opportunity to tie on sewer, or is it just the water? It's Brandon. You might can explain it better than me. It's a high pressure main that you can't just do several taps into.
A force main, it just basically, like you said, it's under force. Like a lot of them are gravity, where there'll be a 2 feet per second drop where they'll gravity feed down, and a force main is usually fed by some type of pump, where it'll pump, and it's semi-pressurized in the sewer side. Now, water, it's always pressurized, but on sewer, a force main is under pressure. And so you can tap in, but there are issues with doing that.
But you wouldn't want 15 houses on Norris Ferry Road doing a tap into the force main.
No, absolutely not.
So, I mean, there are some aspects of this. And then the other part is financially. Are we going to, over a long period of time, are we going to make money off of doing double the rate? Or are we going to make more money? And I shouldn't make it sound like it's a money-making deal, because it's not. But we do have to serve the citizens that are in the city limits. So is it more beneficial to the citizens in the city limits for them to pay double the rate? Or is it more beneficial for those people that are on water to be paying city taxes?
And when they annex these lines, we're responsible for the maintenance of these lines?
Yes.
All right, anyone else? On annexation?
That is definitely something to.
I guess that
I would suggest that we would hold off on the next, of opening lines up until we get the game plan as to what we need to do to get legal involved and to get it all squared away.
my concern with us postponing or holding back is there's a lot of development that's going on in that area. And we're going to have to come up with something very quickly, because we could be holding people up from being able to build their house or whatever. I'm kind of thinking, and I don't know, maybe we need to get involved with the parish. I know the parish back in about, was it like 2008 or 9, when the aquifer started going low out off of Overton Brooks, the parish paid us to put some lines down Wild Oak and Maggie Lane and Split Oak and all that. And I thought that was part of the agreement, that they maintain those lines, but I don't know. That's something we probably need to look into. But I think that the overall take from this is, I don't think we need to be growing anymore as far as footprint goes. We need to be filling in what we've got that's in the city. Just a fact, East Ridge Country Club is outside the city, but it's on city water. Willis Knight Medical building right next to Willis Knight Piermont is outside the city, but it's on city water. Those are things that need to probably come in my opinion, because you're filling in the hole. But we don't need to be going out and picking up extra neighborhoods as we grow south. Because we have a huge, I mean, you can look at the city map, it's ridiculous. It's a huge footprint with huge gaps everywhere. So what I think we need to do is start working with the parish to come up with a way for these areas that don't have access to a water district. You don't see it North Market that much, because North Market has water districts. You don't see it going to Greenwood, because Greenwood picks up. But where you have it is Southwest Shreveport and Southeast Shreveport. So I would like for us to maybe start talking to the parish about, I don't know if they buy water from us, if we have I talked to Mr. Daniel about this the other day. Maybe we start looking for grants to do some type of secondary water plant that would back us up to be able to pull to the south part of the parish. But something needs to happen because I think it's straining our water system.
Councilman Butcher, would you and Councilwoman Taylor work on with parish and legal and see if we could
Sure.
have some legislation for the first meeting in October?
Sure.
All right, thank you.
Quick question, Chair.
Yes.
So who's gonna initiate the conversation, between us and the parish? Is that gonna?
These two.
Both do?
Yes, sir.
Unless you want to help since you were on the parish
Would you
commission.
like to also be on there,
Oh,
Council?
yeah, I'll be there. That's not
Okay.
that's not an issue at all. I just wanna make sure that, one, we just don't.
Madam Clerk, do
delay
we
the
need a
legislation,
motion for those three?
I'm following they lead.
Ma'am? To
Following
form
they
this
lead.
committee, do we need a motion in a second?
Oh, if you're forming a committee, yes.
Ma'am?
If you are forming a committee, then yes,
Yes,
there
I'd
needs
like
be
to
a
make a motion that Councilman Butcher, Taylor, and Telefaro be on this committee to bring back legislation for the annexation for the first meeting in October. That's my motion. Second by Councilman Brooks. Are there any questions? or
Second.
comments?
I have the second.
Huh?
I have the second. I have the second.
He's not on the board.
Yeah, he's not.
Oh,
on
I'm
the
sorry,
committee.
I'm sorry. You second. Okay. Are there any questions or comments? We good? If
Need to
not,
vote?
let's vote. All
Aye.
in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you. The next item is update on drinking water. Brandon, are you here for that today? The update on the drinking water?
I can, yes, sir.
All right.
Good to see y'all again. The latest results, and I've actually talked with the mayor about that yesterday, and the manganese is greatly decreased, not only on what's coming into Cross Lake or what we're pulling from, but also what we're pushing out and how we're treating it. It's kind of a twofold issue. The weather, along with the organics in the water, have decreased, which that happens this time of year, which allows the oxidants, meaning ozone and chlorine dioxide, to properly treat and be more effective on the manganese. So we're seeing great, we're actually, we've been averaging around or below the secondary standard, or recommended standard, because it's not enforceable. And so we've been doing really good. We've actually, the calls have greatly decreased. I know that some of you have even seen that. Calls have greatly decreased, and some of the ones that we've gotten lately at the lab have been kind of one-offs. They actually weren't even tied to manganese. Like one homeowner was out of town for a month and a half working on the road. So of course his house was shut up, and when he came home, he didn't understand. Once we flushed, he was fine. And another one was a totally private issue. So we're doing really good. Our team has really worked hard. What it's allowed us to do is to be proactive. We're getting in a new chlorine dioxide generator, which will allow us a dual type feed and allow us some flexibility. And by doing that, in the event that we see this again next summer, we'll be ready instead of waiting to do that then. And not only that, we've learned dosing by testing, and the frequency even greater than we would normally has allowed us to see kind of what works best. And the thing with the manganese is it's so cyclical that you have to be on top of it and watch it, and our dosing changes. But we've learned kind of those sweet spots. So we've really gained a lot of information from this. And not only that, other communities have been helpful because they're seeing the same things or were. And so we've learned a lot. But all in all, we feel that we're on the tail end of this, and we're kind of in good spirits across the water department. Any questions?
Did you see manganese in certain areas that was higher than others?
As in parts of
Neighborhoods?
town?
Yes.
That's a tricky question. Yes and no.
Okay.
You would see it higher. Like we'll take just an example. Highland, for example. Take that area. This street may see a little higher, and then the street right next to it may not. It could be it would vary as much from 2 doors down. It was very weird, and we got our experts and our process engineers really digging into that a little more to see why that would be. Now, there's a lot of engineering that goes into that. If it's on their own a dead-end line, of course, the water doesn't move as quickly. But we did see some areas that saw a little bit more, but it was very widespread and it was in pockets. It was a very strange phenomenon. It really wasn't how it was spread out. Like I know in your district, for instance, some of your districts didn't see hardly any issue at all.
Right,
And then you had some that it would be a street over and then the street next to it, no.
right. That's just so odd.
And the odd thing is also is that we, our watershed team went around the lake and they've continued. We always sample manganese, but we've never had the issue. So they increased their sampling. They went into the tributaries. They went around the lake trying to see if there was a so-called source. And there was some higher elevations, but nothing that pinpointed a source. And then once we started seeing that other communities that are surface water facilities having the same issue, we realized it's widespread. It's not just Cross Lake that was experiencing this issue. So we never could. I talked to the advocate yesterday, and that's what I was telling him. We could never find the actual source saying, oh, well, this construction site is what's caused this. We couldn't pinpoint that.
That's
Okay.
interesting.
Any other questions?
I want to just say one
Yes,
thing.
sir.
Brandon, I
Sir.
do appreciate, and I've expressed this on numerous occasions, the willingness for our water department to get engaged with citizens who have been concerned. And I think this is on a personal level. I mean, William took the time to actually email these people that were concerned about their water color and so forth. And I'm very appreciative of that. It shows that we truly believe in customer service and interaction, and just keep up the good work. But I really appreciate the extra effort that goes through, other than just copying and pasting, addressing each individual as a constituent and as a paying customer. So I appreciate that very much.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.
Brendan, how is Mr. Daniel
Daniel
doing?
doing.
He's actually doing, I talked to him today, he's here in this region from, I guess, the airbag and the seatbelt, really sore. He's doing good. They had an appointment with his wife today, and I mean, I guess if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, they're great, in my opinion. I mean, because it could have been a lot worse, but to walk
Right.
away from that is nothing but God. So,
Amen.
but they're hanging in there,
Thank
doing
you.
good. I told him all y'all asked about him, and that a lot of
Yeah.
all over the city, directors and employees definitely.
Good deal.
All right, thank you, Brandon.
Thank you, Brandon.
At this particular time, we're up to lighting in neighborhood. Gary, come on up.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Gary.
I'm going to talk about just a couple of things, and then I'm going to turn it over to Robert and let him, Robert, kind of tracking all of our programs that we have out there related to the lighting. And, the big one that I've been pushing on for a long time has been the Cross Lake Bridge, and I'm glad Ms. Taylor got a
It's lit
chance
up
to
like Christmas.
to go out there and look at it.
It looks
I think
good.
it's a good addition for us. We're still got some work on the interchanges on both ends that they're primarily waiting on delivery of some materials that are delayed in with the order. But I think most of it is in. Hopefully, we'll see it finish up, hopefully by the end of this month. But it's going to be close. So. I do want you to know, though, there are going to be a couple of nights that they're going to have to shut the electricity down, and so it'll be dark, completely dark at that point to do some service change stuff that's going to have to take place.
When you find out when they're doing that, would you send me an email just so I can?
Yes, ma'am, and
post it.
we'll try to get it to the mayor's office too, so that they can put out a press release on it. But I know people will see it and want to know why the lights are out. So, but hopefully it'll only be 1 to 2 nights to do that, and hopefully it hadn't already. Well, we'll have to check and see what the exact date on that is. But it has made a big difference, and I'm certainly proud of where it's at, and hopefully we'll be through with it.
Gary, I'd like to commend you on that, getting those lights, and of course, I knew that Councilwoman Taylor's bridge would be lit up before Moortown, so Shelley said she's your, Councilwoman Taylor is your favorite, so
Oh, yes, sir.
Shelley did not tell you that, just
Which
sitting
brings
up
me-
and telling stories on
Yeah,
Shelley.
which
It's
brings me
dark-
to
it's dark and
the
distant.
Jewel Viaduct. Which we
Trying
are
to give
working
me a
on.
trouble.
I got a
We're
question.
we're working on that one also. You know, we do have the Lakewood subdivision that we finished, LaFleur and Tierra. You know, got those lights changed, and I've not heard any negative comments about it.
No, they look really, really good. I did have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I-20 West going toward, between Pines Road and Burcones, that intersection. I think they had something damaged there. Do you have an update on that?
I don't know.
It's a SWEPCO issue
It's a SWEPCO, okay.
that they're working through right now.
Yeah, those regularly go back out after we've, you know, if we repair them. We've had quite a bit of problem with it, but I think we're making progress with them. It's just, you know,
Right.
we've got a certain number of crews. We got them working on one thing, we have to pull them off to address those, but we will continue to work on those to try to.
Okay, thank you for that. I know at one of our previous meetings, Chairman Green had mentioned some type of committee, because believe it or not, we can get phone calls all day long about lights being out in the city. And sometime maybe the department heads need to get out and just ride at night, because if you go down Jewella Avenue, it's dark. You go down some of these residential roads, it's really dark. You got elderly living there. For a lot of people, it's about safety, and we have a lot of lights in the city that's just out. So I don't know where the disconnect is with SWEPCO and Mr. Pierce, but there seems to be a disconnect that needs to be connected there.
Exactly, Gary, along with what Councilwoman Bowman is saying. A lot of my calls come from neighborhoods about it's so dark and they're afraid. And so then, when you call it in, is it SWEPCO, is it the city? What is it, how do we do it? So how can we get some riders at night to go through neighborhoods just to identify the neighborhood's lighting so that we can get that,
So we have actually partnered with the Shreveport Police Department. If you'll take a look at your map up on the screen right there, so far I think they've almost covered the whole entire city at this point. I think there's a few police districts they haven't done yet, but these are all the lights that are out currently. And most of these are SWEPCO.
It's the whole
oh my
city.
goodness.
Yeah, it's pretty dark.
Y'all want us to get some Christmas lights?
So
We gonna need some Christmas lights.
from the meetings we had last summer with the council, we partnered with the police department to go hit every road in the city at night. And this is what we've come up with. And these are real time. We've put them into GIS, so we'll have the exact location. And if anybody wants a copy of this map, it is available for you.
I would like
Could we
one.
get it by district? Is that possible?
Yes, ma'am.
So we'll know what's out in our area?
It's a lot of lights.
Yeah, because it's
You're
a
Mr.
lot of
Pierce?
lights.
What's your name?
Zach.
I'm Robert Thomasek,
Okay. Nice to meet
city's
you.
traffic engineer.
Okay. I always talk to Mr. Pierce, and I hadn't met him before.
Yeah.
So I was asking. Okay.
I think that I've noticed, I've traveled 3132 from I-20 headed eastbound towards I-49, 3132 between Mansfield Road and Linwood is completely dark, and I know there's some lights there. And then when you get to the interchange there at I-49 and 3132, it's pretty dark. It's really weird because you may have one light on, and then you've got 3 or 4 that aren't on, and then one of the big tower lights is on, and the other one next to it isn't. And I don't know how we remedy that problem, but I was thinking the other night, I was coming in a Sunday night from over in East Texas, and it was about 8:30 or so, and it was pitch black, you know, right there at 3132 and I-49. So I agree with what they're saying about maybe somebody, even with Public Works, maybe taking a couple of days a week and riding through and just hitting all these areas, because I think as soon as you get them fixed, they may be going out, you know. And the other question I had real quick for you, Gary, is what we're approving today for the I-49 and Southern Loop, is that just going to be at that interchange, or is it going to be all the way from Burt Coons to Southern Loop?
that's just the interchange.
I'm grateful regardless, but,
Yes, sir, it's just the interchange portion of it.
because that's a very dangerous, we've had some fatalities there where people have hit the back end of 18-wheelers that are sitting there because it is pitch dark there, so.
Right, and we are aware of the issue we're talking about at 31, 32, and 49, that they've been working on it. We're, unfortunately, we've got a lot of lights, and
Oh, I know.
have been a very limited crew, and they're, we're been working hard to try to get the interchange at I-49 and 220. I wanted, when the bridge was finished, I wanted those back up and going, which we've had some material issues with connectors and stuff that have been burning out on that new interchange that we've had to go back in and change most of those. We do have an outside contractor that we have a contract with that's been helping us, that has made a difference, but that, that area is one that we've got a lot of need for on 31, 32, and, it depends on, once it gets wet, it's hard you can't get your equipment
Right.
into it and that, but we will be working on that too.
And then, just when you get a chance, if they could check in Lakeside on Long Lake, the newer section where Newbern Lane and Creston and all those, that's the newer portion of that subdivision. From what I understand, a lot of the lights are out in that neighborhood. I've gotten a few calls on that.
So are those SWEPCO lights or our lights?
The one on,
I'm saying, when we're looking at this map and we see that most of these lights are out, is that SWEPCO's responsibility to fix those?
most of them are. I mean, it kind of breaks down with the city does bridges, interstates, and then there are a few other, outlying areas that would be ours. But, we've got some industrial parks and some of that are ours. But for the most part, the neighborhood lighting is a SWEPCO issue.
Gary, is there a way we could see if Mr. Foster Camel has any money available for neighborhood lighting? Could we check with him to see if
Yes, sir.
there's
We
anything
can-
available?
Can certainly check into that. And
Is it a matter of, I got a list of questions. Is it a matter of logistics? In other words, do we have the materials? It's just that we don't have the manpower?
No,
Or is it
like I say,
material
most of what you're looking at is.
Yeah, that's
is-
SWEPCO.
Oh, it's not us, right?
No,
It's
it's
just
SWEPCO.
SWEPCO?
Right.
I'm sorry.
And obviously, I mean, weeks where they're, I'm sure they're gearing up to be down south to help with the aftermath of whatever happens with this hurricane. So it's, a lot of that would take precedence over it. But we are working with them and continue to communicate with them about, trying the need for it. And like I say, I'd love to see as much, we're finding that it seems to be a good expenditure of money to upgrade from the high-pressure sodium lights to the LED lighting and stuff. Is making a big difference.
Well, that was my another question. Is it, what are they replacing them with? And I presume it's the latest technology as far as a
Right,
light
they're
bulb.
not putting any of the older,
Right.
one of the high-pressure sodium metal halides or mercury vapors go out, they're replacing them with the LED lighting.
And
Councilwoman.
I think one of the difficult things, oh my gosh, one of the difficult things for the citizens is they want to report, but they don't know how. And we've been dealing with this for quite a while. We had an app, we didn't have an app wasn't working, something wasn't working. So I think they want to be more engaged. I mean, I am out there reporting, as you well know. I'm reporting, I'm taking photos everywhere I drive just about on, I don't care what district it is.
Right.
And I appreciate that, and we know. So do we encourage, I mean, I think this is everybody's responsibility, but do we encourage our city workers that this may not be their area of responsibility, that if they see something that is another department's responsibility, that they basically are bound to call it in and not wait for somebody else to do it?
We always encourage that, but I'm not gonna tell you that we.
Oh, I know.
get a lot of
I just had to bring it up because I do it,
so why
Gary
see
does
it,
it.
turn it
I
in.
know that a lot of, we see it, we say it. Not even if it's not in our own district,
Yeah, right.
because we believe that it's
the
all of
city,
our
it's
responsibility.
comprehensive.
Right.
And that, Talk to me about the new signals. I know I'm jumping around, I appreciate it. Signals, I think we have new signals going in on 70th Street.
Yes, sir.
And maybe
Those
it's not
are-
even my district, but I just noticed them. I see, anyway.
That is part 2 of a state contract. It's the flashing yellow arrow project where they're going in and replacing some intersections. They're doing the entire intersection. Some intersections, they're going in and just replacing a couple of things. The heads, for instance, they're taking out the 5-section heads and putting in the 4-section heads and replacing the controller. But this is a state contract. Because those are officially their signals, we just maintain them.
I see. And just let me double back on the reporting. I mean, do we have a way for citizens to report? Because I think that, and I talked to Shelley about this, and she doesn't know I'm going to say this, but I love it when we have Mardi Gras parade and we're numbering the light poles, you know, and I've always thought that's a really good idea to number a light pole, you know, on that a citizen can say 3132, it's light pole 20, or I-20, it's light pole 17, or Clyde Fant Parkway, it's light pole 24. It makes it so much easier, and it relieves them. It relieves you trying to figure out what light it was, because people don't know directions. They can't tell you 1/8 of a mile south of Jimmy Davis Bridge, or, well, that would be in the woods. But, you know, as far as, you know, giving directions on how to find a light. I mean, they're doing pretty good to,
So if you go to Shreveport's website, shreveportla.gov, there's a spot right there that says report a concern. And you click on it. Maybe it'll work. Oh, sorry. You can fill out all this information, and you can actually drop a pin on the map to where that actually is. And it comes to us, whether it be a pothole, a street light, it gets directed toward the right department. And it's called Q Alert. I think that name is actually obsolete now because some other company bought it, but it's a.
so we're still using that Q Alert.
Yes, sir.
I thought it was gone.
That is the new one. I think the old one was
And so,
C-Click Ship or something like that.
okay, so that's fine from a desktop. So we have the mobile app to actually go with the Q Alert that lets me drop a pin as I'm pulled over on the side of the road, not driving, to locate a concern, instead of waiting for me to get home to get on my desktop.
I'm not sure about an app. You'd have to direct
That's an
that to IT. Is there now?
We don't
I
have
know
an app
there
for
used
that?
to be one, but they replaced it with this one.
Brandon, did you say we do? We have an app? Okay, good deal. Do you know what it's called? Q Alert? Okay, outstanding, thank you. Uh-oh, you're a shocker, I'm in trouble. Okay, and it is an app.
The application is not out yet. It's still under development.
Okay, how long's that been?
I want them to fix the council meeting, I know.
Okay, so it's in development?
Yes.
I thought we've had that for a while.
So we've had the actual application, but you're talking specifically about the mobile application?
Yeah.
So the mobile application was still developing. So we had to go through the whole Apple developer process, and we're testing.
Okay, fair enough, thanks.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
if I may, I will
Yes, sir.
point out that on the SWEPCO lights, every SWEPCO pole has a number. And so if you
Yeah.
use those numbers, that's how SWEPCO identifies them.
I know it does,
System.
but it's this little small
Small
silver
silver
plate
plate
that's
that you can
about
barely
7
see.
feet tall.
But I'm just suggesting
Right.
to you that those are their poles and their numbers.
Right. So we probably need to get swept code at our next meeting, because when I have constituents
hard to
call me,
see.
it's very hard to see. So what Councilman Talaferro said about putting a big number would make it easier. And I think we need to get SWEPCO here and get them to help us with that. I mean, because that silver plate is
It's
like
little.
7 feet high, and it's so small.
That you can
So I
barely
try to
see.
zoom in with my camera and take the picture. Yeah.
So let me ask you a question on the signals, that new era that they have. When it's blinking, can you turn? When it's yellow, can you turn? Or when do you actually turn? Because what happens is it's very confusing.
is.
'Cause I'm
It's just
turning.
blinking. I'm like, do I turn on the yellow? What
Yes.
do I do?
So
I
if it's
turn.
blinking,
Just do whatever.
that, you can go. When it's a solid arrow, that is exactly like a yellow light. But if it is actually blinking or green, you can actually proceed with caution. So typically, the one side will turn green and your left arrow will start flashing.
Right.
So as soon, while the rest of the lanes stay red, you can actually start going when oncoming traffic clears. You can go while everybody else is sitting there,
Okay.
While it's blinking.
while it's
Why is
blinking.
And then when it turns yellow, what do you do?
That's just
Caution.
a yellow
You
light
still
at
can
that
keep
point.
on rolling.
Well, it's a yellow light at that point. When it becomes a solid yellow, it's just a regular yellow light at that point.
All these red light changes are
So
heavy
you
on a
don't get the
colorblind
green-
guy, I can tell you that.
Yeah, so you don't get the
I
green
can't tell
arrow
what's
anymore?
what.
You
Yeah, you
do.
still
There
get
is
green
still green.
Yeah, it'll still come to green.
But sometimes it goes from green and then it goes blank. So it's a little confusing.
We
Yeah,
just want to know if we can drive,
I just want to Okay.
because I've been going.
Any other questions about
Yes,
lighting?
Gary, one more question.
Yes.
I
I
wanted
have
to
one,
ask
too.
you about the alley. Because I know Councilwoman Bowman and I have several alleys in our area. And so a lot of seniors live in that area, and they always talk about how dark the alleys are. And I talked to Jarvis a little bit about this, about lighting in those areas, because it's extremely dark in those alleys for sure. We definitely have them in Queensboro and in Allendale and Lakeside, where
have a ton.
they get, it's a lot of alleys.
If you have any specific ones, if you'll let us know, then we'll check and see what we need to do to
Okay.
try to light them up.
Gary, you have-
I have one question, Gary. We talked about 3 weeks ago, the streetlights in the 8 and 900 block of Robinson. Have we made any progress?
I'm still waiting for information from SWEPCO on that, but I'll follow up with it.
Okay, thank
I'll
you.
get to them this week.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Thomas.
Up next, Independence Stadium. Shelley, come on up. So Shelley, I know we had a lot of pipes to burst
Yes, sir.
during the winter out at Independence Stadium, and I just wanted to give the general public and also update on where we were on the repair on it.
All of the repairs have been made, so that has been completed. We're in the process, of getting ready for a big event out there before it was moved, so we're a little ahead of the game for the Independence Bowl. We have discovered some other leaks that were not caused by the storm that we're repairing, but I think all in all, we're in good shape for getting ready for this year's Independence Bowl.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Shelley.
Thank
Any
you.
questions for Shelley?
Yeah, I have one.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you give me an update on the pools? I know me and Councilwoman Taylor had to deal with our pools. Is there any update on that?
We had our pre-construction meetings last week.
Okay.
So they will begin working on those. I'll send out the notice to proceed date, but
Okay.
they've already been given instructions to order the slides, some of the
Thank you.
components, so
Great.
they're moving right along on the pools, and hopefully we'll get into design on airport soon.
Okay.
Can
Thank
you tell
you.
us about the splash?
The splash pads, we've awarded the bid on that for the Riverfront Park fountains. They will be given a notice to proceed probably in November.
Okay.
They had a long lead time on some equipment. They've been instructed to order, which they've already ordered, and then we'll give them a notice to proceed, and it's about a 120-day project, so it should be up and running by the spring.
Can you tell us when the dome coming?
It's a big secret.
Okay. Thank you, Shelley. Thank you. At this time, last, we will have the discussion on the road repair procedure, material, and equipment. Councilman Telefair.
Good afternoon.
Hey, Gary, long
Yeah,
time no see.
I didn't exactly know what you wanted. I asked Jarvis to be here, but I guess
Councilman
he got-
Telefair.
Yeah, I was,
got-
and here's how this all stemmed, is that I was traveling down Hearn Avenue from Milam, northeast, and I see a DOTD out there doing coal patch work. And I know that, I think we do the same thing, which concerns me, is that I think our procedure, and let me get into it, is that they throw the coal patch down, and they expect then a 2,000 or 3,000 vehicle to do their work for them. And it's only going to get compacted so much,
Right.
okay? And then we have a speed bump. That, to me, is just poor workmanship, and it's just a poor process. And I know Mr. North is down south, doing the hurricane thing, but I've talked to him about it as well. And that, one, I've just never been a proponent of patching concrete with asphalt, although I know that sometimes that's the best you can do. But oftentimes, what we do is not the best we should be able to do. I want to know that, other than going out and tapping it down with a shovel, or expecting my car 3,000 pounds to 5,000 pounds to do that work, to finish that work,
With the rock
that,
flying.
DOTD or in us, what else can we do? How can we do it better? Because the way it is that we just add speed bump after speed bump on heavily traveled 45 mile an hour, 55 mile an hour roadways. And it's just, then we wonder why we get letters in the mail from people going, hey, you owe me $120 for my front end. So I don't know if we have those compactors that you can use that actually pack it as as hard as it can be packed, and then smooth it over. Nothing irritates me more than having an unlevel roadway when someone's out there that has just patched it. So I'm looking for another opportunity, why it washes up. And you've heard it over and over again. I'm preaching to the honor choir, and I get it.
And David can explain more of the technical aspect of all of it, but I mean, some of the things we run across is a lot of times you get a complaint, and, our choice is to try to fix it quickly from the standpoint of kind of a temporary fix, until we can get back and the weather is suitable for us to make a better repair. We do have, we've got some equipment needs that we've got some pothole trucks that we're waiting on delivery for, that have the sections that hold and keep the asphalt heated, so that it adheres better whenever you install it and all. But they do carry compactors,
Can we do
plate compactors on the trucks that will compact. And I'm not sitting here going to tell you that we get every one of them right, because we don't. So they get the same calls, but we are working on on trying to improve the quality of what we do. We have an infrared truck that's a good piece of equipment, but it's not the solution to every patch that we make. If it's an asphalt road, we try to make asphalt patches. If it's a concrete road, we try to use similar materials with the concrete patches. But no, I totally understand.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's come to the point where I just want to say, I mean, I know that everybody, regardless, if you drive, you know it, is that if I hit a speed bump, obviously it's a man-made speed bump that's been coal patched, and it's higher than the regular level of the roadway. I just want to get somebody out there and say, you need to grind that thing down and start all over. Obviously that's not going to work. So what should work is that we just do it right the first time, then we don't have the issue. And while I'm on this issue, Gary, if you tell Jarvis to check out Line Avenue south of Piermont in the number 2 lane, it's a huge piece of concrete that somebody has dumped that it's old, but somebody's dumped that concrete right there, and it's just a huge hazard, in my opinion. But anyway, I'll let you finish up. I won't wear this thing out.
Gary, is there anybody here from DOT?
No, sir.
No, I think they're on the hurricane detail.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Norman, I spoke with you yesterday. Do we have a game plan? I just want to have it on the record as far as cleaning up the ditches before the fall come in, because we still have a lot of people calling saying their ditches are
We
Have a lot of debris.
we have a ditch clearing program that we have a contractor that we have a set list of ditches that we are trying to get through.
okay.
I'm not going to tell you that we're going to get all of them, every ditch in the city clean this year, because
Right.
there's
I
more of
just-
them than we can take care of like that. But if there's issues that are out there that we need to know about, then we'll evaluate them and see where we need to put them on the schedule to
Okay,
get them
I just
clean.
didn't want the same thing to happen we had last winter. We got all this rain and water, and then you got the neighborhoods in Queensboro, they got a lot of flooding. Just trying to be ahead of everything before the winter comes in.
Yes, ma'am.
Gary, would you explain as to, for an instance, if there's a pothole and I go through the pothole, tear my front end up. From my understanding, if that has been reported, then the city is liable. But if it hadn't been reported, then the city is not liable. For an instance, I have some folk in my district that said because they didn't call and report the ditch to be cleaned out in the back of their house, they had a flood. And so the water went into their house, but because it hadn't been called in, then the city is not liable. Could you explain how that works?
You may want the city attorney to explain that. I have
Okay.
your understanding of the same thing that I've had, but I certainly
Yes.
don't want to play risk manager.
I was gonna let you try.
Okay, go ahead.
The city property owners generally are responsible for the injuries or issues that take place on property that they own, and that includes a municipal owner. There's a limit on that, which is we are only required to take reasonable actions, and reasonable is a term of art, but we're only required to take reasonable actions to address the hazards or the defects within property that we own. Obviously, if we don't know about it, we can't be reasonably expected to do anything about it. And so that's why there's generally, the way that's generally applied in the law is if there has not been a report of a particular defect or some other reason, some other circumstantial reason why the municipality is supposed to know about that defect, that issue, that backlog, that pothole. If there's no reason for us to know that, then it's not reasonable to expect us to do something about it. So that's generally how property liability of that nature goes. It's a little bit more nuanced with ditches because that's actually private property. It's within the public right-of-way, but the property itself, typically, in the example that you laid out, a ditch behind someone's house, that's private property, but the city has a right to use that particular plot of land for certain uses. So that would absolutely be the responsibility of the property owner, not of the city, unless, again, the city had a specific reason to know that there was some sort of an obstruction that was our responsibility to take care of. For instance, if we were clearing out that ditch, we stopped in the middle of the project, and now there's a big obstruction in the middle of the ditch that we left there, then that's our responsibility. So it becomes really fact-specific. But that's, as a general matter, we're responsible for the things that we have been notified of that are on property that we own.
So you brought up some.
Go ahead.
It kind of confused me a little bit. So
If you're confused, that means I did it right.
Is the ditches our responsibility to clear or the property owners?
As a general matter, that's going to be the responsibility of the property owner. Because generally speaking, the ditch is private property. We just have a right to use certain parts of people's property, whether it be for a sidewalk or a ditch or those sorts of things. That is private property that is owned by the private property owner.
So I think because we are clearing it, and I have some questions for Mr. Gary, I think we're setting a precedent that the community thinks that it's our responsibility because we're doing it.
Yes, there's an ordinance that says that you're responsible all the way to the street line, but I don't disagree with you that there's confusion out there. Absolutely. The reason why we clear it out is because of the potential for drainage backup and those sorts of things. But that property is owned by the property owner all the way to the street line in most cases.
So from a liability aspect, if the house does flood because the drains wasn't clear, that's not on the city.
It depends.
Well, if we,
Depends if it has been reported or not.
But to me, if it's reported or not, doesn't matter if it's not our responsibility. You can
Well, but
report
if
it
we
all
put-
day. I'm gonna say, hey, go clean it out yourself. It's not our responsibility if that's the law.
And sometimes I think we do say that. Sometimes we do say that. Which is, I mean, and Mr. Norman just gave you a very, just off the cuff.
So the ditches that you're talking about is more so the sewer drains too, right, as well, that she's speaking of in that particular regard, they need to be clear because we have a number in our area of sewer drains that run along that way. Like, I pretty much have ditches in the MLK area because of how the drainage was typically when the community was built. But we're talking about those particular storm drains that run in the neighborhood, a lot of those are full of debris. And they need to be cleaned.
Yep.
And what I wanted from Gary, if you've already said that we don't have enough manpower to clean everything this year. So I want a list of those that we are gonna get to this year. And if somebody does call and report it, I want a process that says, look, even though you report it, nothing's gonna happen this year because here's our list, here's what we're gonna get to, or unless there's some schematic that says, once you look at it, this is gonna take precedent over something else. We just need a full plan because we are getting calls from all districts about this getting clean. So I need to say, this is your responsibility, it's already on the list, or we're gonna add it to the list, but it's not gonna happen this year.
You know, got one more question. And then I think it's a disconnect also on when we say ditches and we say, I'm from South Louisiana, we call them coulees. But I think y'all call them drainage ditches here. But when those coulee ditches in the back of someone's home, I have a lot that go through Queensboro and they run, and that's where the water drains. But if you go and you look, those ditches, coulees or whatever you want to call them, are full of debris, like Councilwoman Taylor said. So the water has nowhere to go. So then the water backs up into our residents' backyards, the side of their homes, and I think Councilman Jackson had problems in Cedar Grove. They have those same ditches there that have not been cleaned out, and it caused flooding, which is really our responsibility as the city. That makes sense?
Yeah, those are
So,
drainage ditches that we
right.
pretty much speaking of because
Right.
that you don't even see.
We don't see them because they're in the back of their homes, but water run through to drain. But if they have debris there, leaves, we see a lot of people, and it's very important, cutting the grass. They blow all of this grass in the street. It blocks the drainage ditches where the water flows, and then all of this water backs up into residential neighborhoods.
So at this particular time, all good things must come to an end. We're gonna take a 30-second break, and then it'll be time for council meeting. This meeting is now adjourned.
I don't know where we're gonna pick right back up.